This is not a movie. This is not a game. This is real life. This is what happens when pirates mess with the wrong ship. The pirates thought they had found easy prey, but little did they know that they had just made a deadly mistake. Russian Marines from the Naval Infantry and Marshal Shaposhnikov destroyer were ordered to retake the MV Moscow University, which had been seized by pirates 20 hours before. Witness the clash between modern cutting-edge steel and ruthless pirates and find out how they counter the attack from pirates. Did the Marines succeed in their operation against Somali, pirates or not? On the 4th of May 2010, that our Liberian-flagged Russian-operated tanker, the MV Moscow University. The ship set out for China, carrying a cargo of 86,000 tons of oil and a crew of 23. Sailing through the Gulf of Aden, the tanker entered the Arabian Sea on the 5th of May. The ship's captain, Yuri Tochinsky, received a report that 3 small boats carrying 11 men were fast approaching the tanker. Looking out to sea, Captain Tochinsky realized they were pirates and immediately alerted his crew to the situation and began steering the vessel to evade the hijackers. Closing up to the ship, the pirates fired an RPG round at the bridge of the Moscow University, whose crew members met the onboard water cannons and fired off flares in an effort to fight off the pirates, who responded with small arms fire from their AK-47s. The ship's crew successfully fought off several boarding attempts by the pirates for approximately an hour. Later, the vessel began to lose speed as a result of these evasive maneuvers. Captain Yuri, after knowing that his ship was going to be boarded, sent out distress signals to nearby friendly warships and aircraft before ordering his crew to cut the ship's engines and barricade themselves into the below-deck steering compartment. At the same time, the pirates threw up their hooks and ladders and began boarding the tanker. Within 15 minutes, they complete control over the vessel several kilometers away. Orion AP-3C maritime patrol aircraft of the Royal Australian Air Force picked up the tanker's SOS signal and immediately headed to the scene. The Australian aircrew then relate this information to the Marshal Shaposhnikov, a Russian Navy destroyer which at the time was operating just south with Yemeni island of Socotra. Alternate course, the Shaposhnikov sailed east to come to the assistance of the Russian tanker. However, until she arrived, the 23-man crew of the Moscow University had to stay put as the pirates began to search the vessel for them with intention of taking them as hostage. Can you imagine the fear and tension of the crew? After several hours of searching, the pirates found the crew inside the steering compartment and tried multiple times to force open the steel door and failed miserably. Pirates became frustrated and they started firing and shouting for the crew to surrender and failed in that too. Eventually, the pirates gave up trying to force their way inside and instead began looting the vessel, which had by this time come to a complete stop in the middle of the Arabian Sea. Meanwhile, the Marshal Shaposhnikov sailed for at the 5th of May towards the tanker's location, and as she got closer, one of her onboard K-27 helicopters in the early morning hours of the 6th of May was dispatched to make contact with a Moscow university. Following K-27 helicopter, the Russian destroyer arrived at the scene and immediately fired several warning shots across the front of the tanker with her onboard 30mm Gatling guns and a 100mm main cannons. In response, the pirates sent radio messages to the Russian destroyer claiming that they were not afraid and had taken multiple hostages. After confirming with Captain Yuri that he and his crew were all safe in the steering compartment and that no hostages had been taken, the captain of Shaposhnikov ordered for several more rounds to be fired at the tanker, whilst a team of 25 Marines from the Naval Infantry entered the hijacked tanker. Marines returned fire and became involved in a short firefight that concluded after several minutes when calls for surrender were heard from the hijackers, who had suffered 1 killed and 3 wounded during the brief engagement, handing themselves over to the Russians. The remaining 10 pirates were forced to lie down with their hands tied behind their backs at the 4th section of the tank. Initially, the Russian Foreign Ministry stated that all 10 would be sent to Russia to go on trial. However, this was reversed with an official from the Russian Defense Ministry stating, in the absence of legal agreements, it was impossible to bring these pirates to justice. A decision was adopted to set them free aboard one of the small vessels they themselves had used to attack the Moscow University tanker. However, approximately an hour after being released, the radio signals being transmitted from the boat disappeared from the radar screens on board the Shaposhnikov, and the 10 pirates along with their boat were never seen again. Was it the right call to send these pirates back to the sea, leaving them adrift on an inflatable boat with limited supplies, and leaving their fate to chance? Leave a comment.